Hey guys, it's Rhonda and I'm back with another Project Life process video for you today. I am working on completing my February layouts in my Project Life, and I've got this one and one more to do, and then February will be done. I am using a Simple Stories page protector, and this is the page protector that has 4 vertical 4x6s and 4 horizontal 3x4s. So it's not one that I usually use, or not one that I use a lot, but I do like to mix up my page protectors when I can. I think it just adds interest when you're looking through the album if you've got different page protectors. So that's what I'm doing with this layout. And this layout is one of 2 that I'm working on with pictures that I took from a trip to the zoo with my niece and nephew. So we went to the Denver Zoo on President's Day. I didn't have to work, and so they called and asked if I wanted to meet them at the zoo. So I did, and we had spent the whole day there. We had a great time, got lots of good pictures. So those are what I'm working on to complete my February layout. So again, I'm using the February Hip Kit Club main kit as my Project Life kit. And I really tried to use these 2 layouts to kill the kit. So that's really what I'm working on today is trying to get as much out of the kit as I possibly can. I did have a little bit left over, but not much. So right now I'm working on my title card, and this is just a picture of my niece and nephew at the entrance to the zoo. And it's kind of hard to tell, but their little faces are in that heart where it says I heart DZ. So I just wanted to make sure and use that for my title card. And then I'm just using a couple pieces of washi tape. This is a pink and a blue, like a minty blue, that go with the cards. And I'm just using that as a place to rest my embellishments for this card. So I'm using those stickers again that I love that came with the February kit. And I just use that to spell out zoo. And then I'm using those remarks little alpha stickers to spell out day. So I've got Zoo Day as my title card. And then I'm going to really make an attempt to use those chamel wood buttons. And I end up pulling off the foam backing from the back of the buttons. I think that's what kind of was discouraging me from using them, was that they were just really, really thick. So I went ahead and pulled off the foam backing, and then I'm just going to use my quick dry adhesive to go ahead and glue that down. And I think that's just the one, it's just kind of an ivory color. So that's on my one side, and then I'll just add a couple enamel dots in that same teal and pink color, and I think those are from Simple Stories. So there's a shot of that page protector that I'm using, and you'll see me refer back to that a few times in this, and I even put my cards in there as I go, just because I'm not used to using this page protector, so I kind of have to keep track of where I'm at and keep track of what I still have to do. I'm really good with using Design A because I use those all the time, but anytime I mix it up, it always throws me for a loop just for a minute, just trying to figure out what I need to do and where I need to put them. So this card is just 4 pictures of animals that I took. I printed them smaller because I knew I had a lot of animal pictures, and I wanted to be able to fit as many as I could on one card. So I printed them small. And I think there's a picture of a polar bear, and there's some penguins and a fish and a lizard, I think, on this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and play around with those and see if I can make them work on there, trim them down. And I'm just going to use that blue cardstock as my top layering piece, and then I put that pink number cardstock as the base to that. So I'm just going to go ahead and put down those pictures. And then I end up using some more washi on this just to kind of get rid of those, or to take up that empty space at the top and at the bottom of the card. So in the chipboard set that came with the kit, there's a couple little pluses. And like I said, I really wanted to use up as much of this as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and use those 2 pluses on this. I just figured they'd be kind of perfect for this card. So I'm going to, again, pull out some washi that I'm going to use to rest those little ephemera bits on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I pull out my Tim Holtz. These are just the little tiny words, and I think I use ones that say capture life. But so I'm going to go ahead and put those on there, and that card is done. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put them in as I go along, just so that I can kind of keep track of where I'm at and what I need to do. So I'm going to work on now that top 4x3 card, and I'm going to use this picture of my nephew. And he made this goofy face for me. I wanted to get a picture of him on the merry-go-round, and he just gave me this goofy face. And so that's what I'm going to use for this card. And I wanted to use this kind of watercolory looking card, but when I pulled out the paper that I wanted to use to mount his picture on, I didn't love the way it looked. So I'm going to pull from my stash a card that was in either, I can't remember, it may have even been January. I was thinking it was November or December, but I think that card may have been from January. So I'm going to go ahead and actually use that one. And I like that I can pull older papers from my Hip Kit Club kits because they still coordinate. There's blues, there's pinks, there's greens on these cards that still work with the papers that I got in this month's kit. So it's one of the things I love about the Hip Kit Club as well. So I'm just going to layer my nephew's picture on that diagonal cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and distress the edges with the Tim Holtz Distress ink. And then I'm going to go ahead and just glue that down. And I apologize, you guys, my camera died and I did not realize it. So it's going to cut out before you see, yeah, right there, before you see how I completed that card. You'll get a better close-up of it in just a second, but I just apologize. I had my music up very loud this day that I was working on this, and I didn't hear my camera stop. So it was already, that card was done before I realized that my camera had stopped. So again, I'm sorry for that. But this card is a picture of me and my niece and nephew, and we are looking at the map. My nephew had to see the penguins, and my niece had to find Dippin' Dots. So we were looking at the map trying to figure out which way we needed to go so that we could accomplish both of those. So they're so funny. I'll tell you what, at their age, I didn't know how to read a map, but those two were, they knew if we had to go to G3, they knew exactly how to find that on the map and how to get there. So it was pretty funny to watch them. But I just went ahead and pulled that feather from my stash. It was, again, from another older Hip Kit Club kit, and I just used that on this card along with one of the chipboard stickers from this month's kit, and it says, "You are my heart." And then I'm going to pull out one of the Hazelwood One Canoe 2 butterfly rub-ons that came in last month's kit. I have a lot of those left, so I wanted to use some of those on this layout. And I thought this was just really pretty. I like the way that the feather is, you can see it through the butterfly. So I just thought that was kind of a cool effect. And then I just went ahead and added this heart chipboard sticker to that card, and that card is done as well. So they're so funny. I tease my brother. We used to joke that he's 7 years younger than I am, and I had my kids when I was younger, and he had his kids when he was older. And we used to always tease each other that there was going to be a generation gap between our kids. And there literally is. There is a huge age gap between his kids and my kids. My kids are in their middle 20s, and my niece and nephew are 4 and 7. So there is a big age gap, but I think that's part of the reason that I'm so close to these two, is because my kids were older and grown when these two were born. And so I was able to spend a lot more time with them than I would have if my kids were still younger, if that makes any sense. So I do love hanging out with these two. They just make me laugh. They're the funniest kids, smart, and I love hanging out with them. So I will do that any chance I get. So this card is a picture of my niece. And again, that paper that I'm using is from an older kit. And also that beautiful, I think that comes from last month's ephemera kit. I don't know, it was just in my stash. But I'm going to kind of mimic what I did on the card of my nephew, where my camera cut out and you couldn't really see what I did. His card, I end up using, I cut a thicker banner. And I don't normally do that. Usually when I do it like a fishtail banner, I use 2 thinner banners and tie them together. This one I decided to take up a bunch of that empty space up there at the top with a thicker banner. So I just did that, just doing the one. And then again, this is just kind of what I did with my nephews up at the top. And I thought it would be just kind of nice to tie in the 2 cards, the one of my niece, the one of my nephew, and just kind of have them repeat the same sort of embellishments. So I've gone ahead and I've cut my banner, and I'm just going to ink the edges with the Tim Holtz Distress Ink. That is Black Soot, one of my faves. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And then I think I stapled, yeah, I put 2 staples across the top. And then I'm going to pull in that black and white butterfly. And I think that that just works perfectly with this card. It's simple. I've got a lot of blacks and grays going on in that card. So I just went ahead and did the rub on there. And I love the way this card looks. I think it's so simple and so pretty. I love the way that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in my page protector. And then I think, let's see, I'm going to move on to, I think it's the bottom, yeah, the bottom 3x4 card there. And I'm going to use that picture that I've got of a couple elephants. So I'm going to trim that down so that it fits. And then I end up, what do? Oh, I grab a kind of a wood grain look paper, and I'm going to use that as my background. And then I go through my ephemera from this month, and I don't know what it is about this tag, but the second I saw it, I thought, this is the tag I have to use on this. To me, it just kind of has like an Asian look to it, and I thought, well, that works perfect with Asian elephants, right? So I just love the way this card comes together. So I just inked up the edges of that card. I'm going to pop that down, and then I also use a tool that I have in my stash that I love, and I don't use it enough. And I think it's because it sits on my cart and it doesn't sit on my desk. And so I don't automatically reach for it when I'm looking for, a smaller embellishment. But it is the, I want to say we are memory keepers maybe. It's that punch right there, and it's a tab. And I use tabs all the time in my layouts. I love to just kind of tuck them under the edges of pictures. They're perfect for little word stickers, tiny word stickers, and that's what I end up doing here. So I just pulled a scrap of card from my stash and punched out that little tab, and then I'm going to find, again from my stash, a tiny word sticker that says favorite. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that, and then that card is done, and it turned out so cute. This is another card that I'm just going to use. I've got 4 more animal pictures that I'm going to layer just the same way that I did on the other card. And this is actually going to be right underneath that card. So they kind of all go together. They've both got the 4 pictures on there. And I think that one is just adorable. We have a baby gorilla at our zoo. He's about a year old. And we spent like 15-20 minutes just watching him play. He was adorable. So cute. But then I think there's also a lion and an alligator and a Komodo dragon, I think. So I've got this collected. I tried to use this on my February title card, and I could not make it work. So I just threw it back into my supplies, and I end up using it on this layout. So I'm just going to pull off the foam backing tape and going to go ahead and layer that on there, and that card is done. So then the last card I'm going to do is a picture of the 4 of us on the zoo train. And in the chipboard stickers thickers that come with this collection, there's a large phrase that says together. And I really want to make this work on this card. I think it's the perfect, it just goes perfectly with this card. There isn't another card that this is going to work on. So I need to make this work. So I'm going to grab my wax paper and just make sure that when I shove that together as close as I possibly can, it's going to fit on this card. And it does. It ends up working. So I'm going to grab another card from my stash, and I'm going to use, trim that down. It's going, it's kind of a tealy color again, so it works really well with the chipboard stickers. And it just really ties the background paper in with this little embellishment that I have going on here. And literally this is all I do to this card. So I'm just going to lay down this piece of paper, add it together, and then this card is going to be done. Really plain and simple. I just didn't feel like it needed a whole lot of other embellishment, and honestly there wasn't really a whole lot of other places to put anything without covering up some faces. So that is how this turned out. So my niece and nephew were super excited to ride the zoo train, even though it was all of maybe, I don't even think it was a 5-minute train ride, but boy, they loved it. So I think that should complete this layout. So thanks you guys for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.